one more video became the thing that ruined me. If you asked me what my favorite part of the day used to be, I'd have told you, without hesitation, right before sleep. When I finally get to scroll in peace. It felt innocent, harmless, hell, even earned. A little reward at the end of a soul-sucking workday. I wasn't clubbing, I wasn't drinking myself blind, I wasn't blowing cash on dumb things. I was just lying in bed, earbuds in, watching funny videos or 10-minute story times. Sometimes cooking hacks. Sometimes true crime. Always just one more. That's how it started. One video became 3. 3 turned into 15. Next thing I knew, the sun was bleeding through my blinds and I'd watched 4 hours of strangers cleaning their apartments or recounting high school trauma. And still I thought, it's fine. I'll catch up on sleep tomorrow. Spoiler, I never did. I was late for work twice that first week, then once more the next. I brushed it off, blamed traffic, blamed my phone not charging, blamed everything but the reality that I was becoming chronically sleep deprived. But it wasn't just sleep I was losing. I stopped calling friends back. Stopped answering texts unless it was something urgent. People started saying things like, "You disappeared," or "You okay? Haven't heard from you." I'd always reply with some version of "just tired." Work's crazy. Which was true. Kind of. What I didn't tell them, what I didn't want to admit even to myself, was that I had stopped living between 10 p.m. and 3 a.m. and started merely consuming. I was a machine. Plugged into a drip feed of curated distraction. The irony? I work in digital marketing. I'm the one who makes the content people stay up watching. I know how these things are designed, the dopamine hits, the scroll loops, the cliffhangers. I understand the algorithm better than most. And still, I was caught like a fly in honey. One night I tried to quit cold turkey. I left my phone charging in the kitchen, went to bed like a normal adult, even put on white noise. I lasted 12 minutes. The silence started to scream. My mind raced. Suddenly I couldn't stop thinking about deadlines, missed opportunities, that one embarrassing thing I said in 2013. My brain became a slideshow of every regret I'd kept sedated for years. So I got up, walked to the kitchen, unplugged the phone, and crawled back into bed like an addict crawling back to the dealer. That's when it hit me. This wasn't harmless anymore. This was dependence. And I didn't know how to stop. The real damage didn't show up with a bang, it crept in like mold under wallpaper. It started small. I missed a meeting because I'd overslept. Not a huge one, just a 9:30 a.m. stand-up where half the team phones it in anyway. But still, people noticed. My boss raised an eyebrow and said, "Everything okay?" with that pointed tone that doesn't actually care, just wants to tick a liability box. I smiled, made up a story about being stuck in traffic again, and swore it wouldn't happen again. Except it did. And not just meetings. Deadlines. Lunches. Laundry. Texts. My ability to do anything without a screen involved started to disintegrate. Even when I wasn't watching videos, I needed some kind of noise, podcasts, music, anything to keep the silence from creeping back in. I'd walk to the store with AirPods jammed in, volume full blast, narrating over my own life like I couldn't bear to hear myself think. It wasn't until I went out with a group of friends, the few I still kept in touch with, that I realized just how much I'd slipped. We were at a diner. Cheap coffee, worn booths, the kind of place we used to hit up in college when the world felt big and breakable. Everyone was laughing about some old road trip and I smiled along, nodding, pretending to remember details I absolutely didn't. Then someone asked me, "So what's new with you?" And I blanked. Not because I had nothing to say, but because I couldn't remember anything that had actually happened. The last few months were a blur. A streaming fog of half-remembered videos, comment threads, algorithm rabbit holes, sleepless nights, and workdays spent running on caffeine and shame. I had no real stories. No updates. Just recycled TikTok jokes and vague burnout. So I said the same thing I always said, not much. Work's crazy. Later that night, I opened my phone the second I got home. Habit. No thought. Just unlock, scroll, watch, absorb. But something felt off. I wasn't laughing. I wasn't even watching. I was just staring. My body was there, but my brain? Gone. I looked at the time. 3:52 a.m. I hadn't even changed out of my clothes. And then it happened the moment I realized I wasn't okay. I caught my reflection in the black mirror of my phone screen between videos. My face looked wrong. Bloated, pale, eyes ringed with exhaustion that no filter could hide. And worse, blank. No spark. Just this dull, open-mouthed stare like I'd been sedated. I tossed the phone on the floor like it had burned me and sat there in the dark, heart racing. This wasn't just bad sleep hygiene. This was dissociation. This was numbing turned toxic. I had built a cocoon of digital noise so thick that I no longer recognized the person inside it. And I didn't know how to get back out. It hit me on a Wednesday. I was halfway through microwaving leftover lo mein when I caught myself humming the TikTok jingle from some guy who reviews vending machines. That would have been fine, maybe even funny, if I hadn't realized. I hadn't said a single word out loud since Monday. No calls. No meetings. Not even a hi to the Uber Eats driver. I'd left a note to drop it at the door and waited until I heard them walk away. I stood in the kitchen, holding my plastic fork, staring at the bubbling food like it was going to answer for me. What the hell was I doing? I used to talk to people, joke with coworkers, call my mom just to hear her ramble, even FaceTime my cousin to watch dumb shows together. But now, conversations felt like homework. Every notification made me flinch. Even replying to messages felt like a task that required energy I didn't have. But somehow, I had infinite energy to scroll. I could burn 4 hours watching people bake banana bread I'd never make, clean apartments I'd never visit, argue about shows I didn't even watch, but texting "how are you" to my best friend felt like climbing a mountain. The worst part? I didn't even feel sad. Not really. Just blank. Like life was happening in another room and I'd misplaced the door. It wasn't a crash, it was an evaporation. I started skipping meals. Not on purpose, just forgot. Lost track. Sometimes I'd look up and realize I hadn't eaten anything solid all day except a half-stale granola bar. I'd drink coffee at 9 p.m. because time didn't mean anything anymore. My apartment wasn't dirty, just still. Like no one really lived there. Like I was squatting in my own space. One night, I heard my phone buzz and saw my mom's name flash on the screen. For a second, I hovered over it, thumb right there, then hit ignore. I didn't even know why. Maybe because I didn't want her to hear the hollowness in my voice. Maybe because I didn't know how to explain that I was drowning in content but starving for connection. Or maybe because I was afraid she'd ask, "Are you okay?" And I wouldn't know what to say. That night I slept 3 hours. Woke up with my jaw clenched, head aching, feeling like I'd been hit by a train of regrets I couldn't even name. And then, in the middle of brushing my teeth, I heard myself say it out loud. I don't like my life. Just like that. 4 words. Dry. Honest. Terrifying. Because it wasn't dramatic. It wasn't a cry for help. It was just a fact. The way you say, "It's raining outside," or "I forgot to buy milk." I rinsed my mouth, looked at myself in the mirror, and felt something shift. I couldn't do this anymore. I couldn't be a background character in my own life. I needed help. But I didn't know where to start. I started small. Not brave. Not dramatic. Just desperate. I gave myself 3 days. 72 hours. No more doom scrolling at night. No watching videos in bed. No podcast lullabies or true crime recaps to numb me out until morning. It wasn't about fixing everything. It was about proving I still could. The first night was hell. My hands kept twitching toward my phone like it was muscle memory. I must have reached for it 20 times in the dark, each time catching myself and clenching my jaw like I was holding back a scream. The silence pressed in, thick and humid. And the thoughts, oh God, the thoughts came rushing like a flood, missed chances, old embarrassments, things I thought I'd buried. It felt like withdrawal. I lay there for hours, eyes wide open, chest tight, heart doing this weird fluttery thing every time I imagined opening the app again. I didn't, but I wanted to. Second night? Slightly better. I still didn't sleep great, but I read a book. An actual book. The words felt foreign at first, too slow, too quiet, but eventually my brain adjusted. I found myself rereading a paragraph twice just because it felt like something I'd forgotten how to enjoy. Third night? I slept. Like really slept. The kind where you don't dream, don't flinch, don't wake up feeling like you've just survived something. And when I opened my eyes, something had shifted. I got up, made breakfast without checking my phone. I sat at the table and looked out the window. There was this crow on the balcony railing just watching me, head tilted like even he knew something had changed. That afternoon, I called my mom back. She answered on the second ring. "Hey, stranger. Everything okay?" I almost cried. Not because she sounded worried, but because she didn't sound mad. She sounded like someone who still thought I was worth showing up for. I told her the truth. Not the heavy dramatic truth, just pieces. I'd been in a weird place. Too online. Too numb. I didn't know how to say it. She didn't ask for more. She just said, "I'm glad you said something." I texted Shayla later that night. Asked if she wanted to get coffee. She replied in all caps, "Yes." Finally. Over the next week, I started making rules. No screens after 10. No eating with earbuds in. Phone lives on the charger overnight, not under my pillow like some cursed relic. It wasn't easy. Some nights I slipped. But for the first time in months, I was trying to live, not just scroll through someone else's. And here's the weirdest part. I don't miss it. Not the way I thought I would. Because what I gained, silence, presence, real sleep, real connection, feels heavier in my hands than any video ever did. So yeah, my harmless habit was destroying my life. But choosing to face it? That saved me.